E aí, como é que é, pessoal? Daqui a falar já de volta para mais um vídeo de Nier. Pois é, malta, no último episódio, que parecia ser o último episódio, nós vimos, aliás, e depois vocês vão ver isso no título, provavelmente, mas nós vimos que no final dos créditos, vocês não sei se ganharam até o final dos créditos, apareceu uma cena a dizer que tínhamos bloqueado o final B. E eu lembrei-me o quê? Eu lembro-me no final também ter dito, se calhar vou fazer, agora não sei o que vou fazer, se é esta série de Nier, vou pensar ainda, mas que sempre o quê? Isto é Nier. O que nós tivemos em Nier Automata? Tivemos vários finais. E o que vai ser em Nier? Vamos ter vários finais ainda também. Ou seja, vamos ter mais, acho que 4 finais, pelo que eu estive a pesquisar. Não pesquisei, obviamente, o que é que vai acontecer nos finais, pesquisei só quantos é que íamos ter. E pelo que parece, ainda temos até o final E. E portanto... malta, vamos começar aqui então o final B, a história não acabou ainda, ok? Portanto, let's go! Sem mais demoras, no último episódio nós derrotamos, se lembram, o Shadow Lord, salvámos a Yuna, tirámos o espírito que ela tinha dentro do corpo dela, ok? Como é que se chamava-se? Eu não sei como é que chamava-se a doença, mas tinha aquela doença, vocês lembram-se que nós já tínhamos visto desde o início do jogo. E pronto, vamos então começar então o final B e ver o que é que nos espera, ok? Mas supostamente tem que continuar o save onde eu gravei o final lá, portanto deve ser aqui, supostamente, né? Ending A. Suponho que seja aqui.
Whenever I interacted with Kainé, I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Here we go.
Vocês não sei se vocês também não sei se viram, mas agora ele disse que supostamente isto é o final da Kainé. Deve ser uma coisa para jogar com ela ou coisa assim. Agora vamos ver o que é. Vamos então voltar atrás no passado, na parte em que ela despetrificou, né? Kainé's Dreams Discrimination. The sound of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden, house-shaped weather vane at the center of the town. The wanderer reached the vein, which had existed for as long as Danny could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale white skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. If the peak turns east, I go home. If it says west, then The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on, come on! The child felt a slight breeze and watched as the vein slowly cracked to life. Spinning this way and that for a moment, it finally settled with a beak pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? Before the vein could move again, a dead rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me! A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Oh ho, Kainé! The voice belonged to Demo, worst of all, the billies in the Harry. Ok, isto parece uma história então, até agora da Kainé, né? E conta um bocadinho da vida dela naquela vila da Harry, que foi destruída pelo Emil, né? As Kainé struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above their eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shapes of Demo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seems taken aback for a moment by Kainé's seeming indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. "What's up, freak? You like the rain? You like getting all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home?" Though she knew it was a futile, Kainé turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kainé knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to this sensation. It was one she had experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of the children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition and fear, Kainé was something to be hated and, if possible, destroyed. "I didn't say you could leave, freak." Demon's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. "Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt. Oh look, the little freak is gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead?" Kainé prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Demo crept her close, the clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. "Even the weather hate me. I'm useless, a failure. I wish Demo's rock had taken my head off." Kainé couldn't meet Demo's leering gaze. Lowered her eyes. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the sense of whole meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kainé's face with his thick fingers and yanked it apart. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. "You are a freak." No, I'm not." "Did you just say no?" Nemo grinned heavily. "You don't say it not to me. No one says no to me." Not even taking his attention from Kainé, he called to his cohorts. "Come on, guys, let's give the freak what she deserves." As soon as Nemo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kainé. Nemo paused, still grinding, as Kainé curled into a ball and tried to make it pain stop. "I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows that you are what you really are." Kainé ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east, as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. "Go home? Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to." "Freak," chanted the children. "Freak, freak, freak, freak." Kainé closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. Kainé was shocked to see Demo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see blood welling from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. "Oh my god, he's crying, he's actually crying." Drip of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When Nosso savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kainé. But the young girl was the least of the concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. Parece então que vamos ver aqui que havia um grupo de bullies que andava a bater na Kainé, porque pelo que parece ela já é tipo uma sombra desde pequena, não é? E tinha os pais, ela além disso tinha os pais já mortos, portanto as moradores da vila não gostavam dela, não é? Porque ela era uma sombra. Mas já. After struggling for a breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Pois o que parece é que tipo, ele estava a bater e ela deve ter libertado qualquer poder da sombra e acabou por magoar o Demo, né? O outro gajo estava a fazer-lhe mal. That's like a bitch, don't it? Now suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kainé again, I will do far worse than through a rock. You can count on it. Ah, ok, parece que então alguém... Pelo que parece alguém então foi ajudar. The old man crouched down and gently touched the hand Demon was using to cover the wood. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wood, wood, and twisted back and forth. "Ow!" he screamed, leaping to his feet. "Stop it! What are you doing? Quit it in. Ain't no one ever die for us. Ever die from a scratch. You hit me like with a rock, you stupid bitch, a big one, that a thing could kill me." The old man shrugged. "That is the best cure for stupid." Demon's face twisted with a rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kainé, that he took a step backward and spat on the ground. "Get out, leave this village, no one wants you here. Either of you." Ok, parece que o old man quase certeza será a avó dela. Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Demo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out a single laugh. "Ah, look at the fat boy go. Guess he's fine. He's healthy enough to run from a fight." The woman's smile faded as she turned her attention to Kainé. She kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the youngest girl's shoulders, then produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting at the blood on her forehead. "Oh, Kainé," she said, "why didn't you fight back? You are stronger than that, a lot." The words of her grandmother stung Kainé and she turned away. "Don't be nice to me," she said. "I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore." Her tears, held in check for so long, finally began to fall on muddy ground below. "Everyone hates me. They think I caused the bad things to happen. They think I'm freak. I wish I was dead." As Kainé's tears turned to sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kainé found herself unable to turn away. "Don't talk like that, Kainé. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempt to cross it. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understand?" The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. "You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kainé. You know because you survived it." As the words hit home, Kainé was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kainé called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. Ok, parece que esta velhinha, esta senhora não é então a avó mesmo dela, pelo que eu estou a tentar perceber. Parece mais que foi uma senhora que depois de os pais terem morrido, digamos, adotou a Kainé como neta, né? E a Kainé, pronto, começou a chamar-lhe por avó. E pronto, ele está aqui então a dizer que também os primeiros anos não foram nada fáceis. But which year that passed, Kainé and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with the tears and blood caking her face, that Kainé truly understood the depth of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kainé's pains and loneliness, it was her. Don't make you sick, Grandma. Of course not. Don't be an ass. Kainé drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. "But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't..." "Hush," interrupted Grandmother. I will not hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. And if folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kainé's hair. The skill took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kainé want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, there are... por isso é que ela gosta tanto de Lunar Tears. Por isso é que ela queria uma Lunar Tear naquele primeiro episódio. Lembram-se que ela, quando estávamos na vila e encontramos a Kainé, ela queria uma Lunar Tear. E era por isso que ela queria. Por causa da avó dela. Grandma, you made this for me. Lunar Tears were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing it on. And yet her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kainé reached up and touched the wreath as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find this? Oh, you know, just stumbled on them one day while I was out doing the shopping. The old man turned away as she was explaining, leading Kainé to suspect that search had been much more difficult than she was letting on. The pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in its construction, made Kainé's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kainé blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Her grandmother smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. Long as we go each other, we'll be just fine. Kainé took her grandmother's hand in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began the long walk home, Kainé gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain had stopped. Kainé stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spinning in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape, I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough, even if it's against the world. Kainé let her gaze drift past the vane into the cloudy sky. The last faint hints of the rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed for home, she let skirt into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kainé's dreams daily life. Ok, depois temos aqui várias histórias acerca dela, não é? Ok, esta então para resumir então. Foi então uma história então sobre mais ou menos da avó dela, não é? Que anda a apoiar muito desde a morte dos pais. A avó que não é uma avó paterna, não é uma avó de sangue, né? Que a acolheu como neta e pronto, ajuda a Kainé, já que a Kainé se sente um fardo por ser o que ela é, que é, eu suponho que eu seja já falado de ser uma sombra, né? E vimos ali também, pronto, aqueles rapazes que estavam a fazer, pelo que parece a vila não curte muito da Kainé, né? Mas, enfim. In the distance, Kainé heard the steady sounds of an axe stringing wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was wearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, wasn't as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about the barren yard with a wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit, asks. Kainé's grandmother fled away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words what would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, call Kainé. What? Yelled the old man, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kainé. Don't get too close, or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending the ship flying in every direction. On spun, past Kainé close enough for her to hear a whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she would scuttle to a safe distance, she kept her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Grandma, do you need help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe or something?" The axe, poised on to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old man considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment, then she smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a peaceful job of chopping, why did you come here and take over so I go get the water? Shades have been restless lately, you know, and I don't know where you ran into one of them bastards. Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Getting water was by far the more difficult of the jobs, but Kainé knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kainé did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required to travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kainé knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. Once Kainé moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her brother. And rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on the rookie acre of land they called home. Kainé enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kainé turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old man had hated the core. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the took embedded itself in the long and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kainé swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Damn it, oh crap! She suddenly understood the joy her grandmother felt in good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with the blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. Será? Então, pera, é que eu estou a ver. Estamos aqui então a contar uma história de uma vez que a avó dela estava a cortar madeira, não estava a conseguir, e ela foi... Já nem sei o que é que ela fez. Já é tanto texto que eu já me esqueci, mas pronto, ela fez uma tarefa qualquer, a cara ficou a tentar então cortar a a cortar a madeira, e um pouco parece ela estava a perceber porque é que a avó dela gostava daquilo, e agora estava a dizer então que ela tinha um talento natural para com as lâminas. E agora que eu estou a pensar, será que as armas que a Kainé tem são algum tipo de machado ou uma coisa assim? Porque agora que eu estou a pensar que ele é mais ou menos um machado, mas é um daqueles machados, sei lá, mais pequenos, mas é daqueles machados que tem um cabo longo, que tem um cabo mais longo, e tem tipo aquele... Pronto, vocês sabem como é que é o machado. Eu acho que, pelo que parece, vocês se lembram, o machado da Kainé era tipo um bocado mais pequeno, e tipo uma coisa assim gigantesca com vários picos. Acho que era assim, se bem me lembro. Mas ok. This is tough, and my logs are all weird size. Spitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kainé redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs and coughed out a whistling laugh. Pretty clumsy girl, you better practice if you... And Grandma suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Ok, parece que ela deve estar a ter algum tipo de ataque, um bocado assim. Ela também já era velhinha. Eyes wide, Kainé dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. Grandma! The old man shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. Get the bucket. Can't let it spill. Kainé steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water slushed over the side and made a new home in a hem of her dress, but Kainé didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with a panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and battled Kainé away. Stop that! Just stop now! She cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying. Just tired from the trip is all. Kainé desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hand and worn face told her more than words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kainé was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reserved. Next morning, Kainé came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you are sick and you need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old man shook her head and tried to rise, but Kainé gently pushed her down. It's all right, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt still. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it. I don't like it, goddammit. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. The woman watched as Kainé strapped on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across a dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kainé moved a brisk pace, shaking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Eu fazia tantas vezes quando eu ia ao mercado, tipo, com aquele medo de perder o dinheiro, estão a ver, malta? Eu fazia tantas vezes quando era mais pequeno. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by Shade, or worse, Demo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kainé finally found herself an entrance to the village. The few she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kainé took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kainé's presence. Hey lady, she said Kainé, with a bravado she did not feel. Where's the apothecary? Apothecary? The woman's flabby cheeks shook in bewildered anger. How dare these things speak to me, they seemed to say. But Kainé saw that her eye held a different emotion, fear. Here, yeah, we are both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Eu já estou a ficar sem coisa para ler, meu. Which way? Kainé repeated. The woman pointed at a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kainé cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary. Eu não sei se existe ler isto. But the new emotion had little time to take a root. For as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Demo. He would clearly been sent here on some kind of familiar errand, because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my god, he sputtered. I mean, what are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without a force, and Kainé happily ignored it. Stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. Meu, já tomei. Ah! Barked Demo. That old bitch finally keel over. Go to the hell, Demo. The boy's eyes grew so wide they seemed ready to fall out of his head. But before he could let fly a comeback, or worse, a punch, the apothecary told them to knock it off before they kicked them out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kainé under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe, once more taking a brief tour of the shop while that owner prepared a medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. Ok, uma linguagem indecifrável, ok. An ocean of aromas assailed her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kainé a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place that she could call home. On the far wall, behind the counter, rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but the time had worked its magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You like the picture? Kainé turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. Yeah, his eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her and into nothing as spoke. That's my daughter. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now. Kainé didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Peaches are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper. They let the ones closest to you live on forever. She shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kainé and smiled, handing her the medicine. He reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. You should have these. There's no one left that wished to draw. Kainé took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you, he said. It's a small village and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I knew your grandmother Kali, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandma's name... Oh, ele sabe o nome dela. Pois eu estava a ver Kali, ele não tinha dito o nome dela. She was still mulling this new fact over her mind, and she reached out and gently took the crayons from the apothecary's hands. Ok, apothecary essa é uma profissão na vila, pelo que eu estou a perceber, não sei o que é. Deve ser uma coisa assim parecida. Your grandmother is an old friend of mine, he said as Kainé scooted away yet again, and I owe her much. I'm willing to wager that she would like it if you drew a picture of me. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Kainé murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step none the less. and with enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kainé returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Kainé to think that she had been pacing around the room, and exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old man's hand clasped around her arm. "Back already, are you?" asked her grandmother with a yawn. Come here, let me have a look at you." Grandma sat up and examined Kainé from head to toe, finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild. She leaned back and allowed herself to relax. "Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble?" "It was kind of fun," said Kainé with a small smile. "No, seriously, it was." It was fun, was it?" asked her grandmother in a voice which implies she believed anything but. "Oh, huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know." As she spoke, Kainé removed the crayons from her pocket. After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandmother that she was going to sketch her portrait. "A portrait of me? Ridiculous, no one wants to stare at wrinkled old crone." "But grandma, it will make you live forever." "Worst manner." Ok, ela percebeu mal, acho que ela, não sei se ela percebeu mal isso. "Worst manner," said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed. "Living forever will just piss me off. Now, put those crayons away and help me with the dinner." Ok, parece que ela queria fazer um desenho da avó dela, mas ela não quis. But Kainé would not relent, and in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house, as if posing for a master artist. Kainé took up the crayons and eyed her subject carefully. Just as grandmother was about to nod off, Kainé finished the work. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. "It's terrible, it doesn't look like you at all." "I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought these crayons would, you know, make drawing easy or something." The woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. Let be the judge of that," she said, ignoring the pen in her back and reaching for the paper. Mas continuando, the sketch could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or incredibly misshapen loaf of bread. I'll render in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly whizzed out of laugh. "Oh, Kainé," she said between laughter, "you drew out my blood. You are clumsy as me, and I love it. But, hush, I won't hear any more bawl about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I will treasure it always." True to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table. In the days that followed, Kainé would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent and mocking laughter. A week later, Kainé could stand it no more and asked her grandma to take the artwork down. "Push," said the old woman. "I will take this down when they roll me in my shroud." She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kainé and dropped to one knee. "Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. And it makes me want to go on so that someday you can feel the same happiness." It was a moment that burned itself in Kainé's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old man who had made her place in the world possible. The time moves on, people's memories come in and out of a life like a ghost passing through a hole. But this moment will be different, Kainé swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. Bem, malta, mais um capítulo. Separation. Kainé listened up to the sound of cracking firewood and stared at the black object on her plate. She would been bashing it around the wooden disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the amused stare of grandmother. Finally, she smoothed her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you want me to hit a bug. The woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. It's not a bug, you fool girl. It's a berry. Why in the hell would I have been feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug, said Kainé, and I think it's burned or something, because it smells terrible. With that, Kainé held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, alright. Why, you little brat, laughed the old woman. Look at the sass on you. You have been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact. 5 years has passed since the moment when Kainé's grandmother saved her from the bullies. Ok, já passaram 5 anos desde que aquele momento que a Kainé, que a avó dela salvou Kainé daqueles do Dimo e do grupo dele, não é? As it often the way with the two stubborn people, the relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurl-the-poos in equal measure. Kainé could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kainé started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning found Kainé lacing up her work boots with a breakfast of burned berry rolling through her belly. Where are you going today? Asked Grandma suddenly. Kainé looked up, surprised. The old woman hardly asked for specifics anymore. Well, I was gonna check out the calma trees and see if they were ripe. I thought you could make some jam or something. Oh, and going to pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What in the hell for? Kainé stared at the grandmother, then held out an arm and swept it around her room. Constructed mostly of cloth, rope, and rubble, the whole place sagged like a boxer in the final round. Grandma, a dying cat could shoot through this house. I'm going to build a stone wall so we have some protection. The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grind to the world. Goddamn girl, if a bunch of thieves wants to ransack this old place, let them come. We got nothing worth selling anyway. Estou the sick, juro. I'm not worried about about tips. I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The old woman tilted her head and stared at her grandmother. Well, shoot. I don't know why you have to do it today. We can worry about some other. Grandma, no! If I don't go to the calma trees, we won't eat tonight. You know that. A confused expression passed across the old woman's face, and for a moment she was a small child lost at a carnival. Yes, she said after a bit. Yes, of course, you're right. I'm sorry, Kainé. Lately, it seems my money is... She didn't finish the thought. Instead of walking over to her nightstand and gently taking her breath, lunar tears from the drawer. The flower's petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kainé thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. You're gonna be a true woman soon, Grandma said as she placed the flowers in girl's hair. So that means less chatter about shades and building defensive walls, and more talk about how beautiful you have become. Annoyed, Kainé reached up Annoyed, Kainé reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand. "You are a beautiful thing," said the old woman, "and there ain't another like you in all the world. I'm very proud of you." "Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for one day. Such a mouth on you. Where did that come from?" "Gee, I wonder. I will teach you to sass me, girl," yelled Grandma. Suddenly she lurched forward and grabbed Kainé by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazy grin on her face. "Grandma," yelled Kainé in quaking voice. "Grandma, stop it! What the hell?" The woman stared at her and blinked, then slowly held her wrinkled hands out as if it was the first time she had ever seen them. I don't... what happened there? I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my man just... Ok, parece que a prova dela está... é um bocadinho estranha, não é? Pelo que estamos a ver, porque ela está a fazer coisas que não é suposto ela normalmente fazer. O que ela querer, será que há alguma sombra que a está a possuir, alguma coisa assim? Kainé thought that the look on her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she had ever seen. "Listen," she began. "Maybe I should stay home after all." "No, I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on a whole codger like me. You go get your fruit and your wall and whatnot. I will be fine. When you come back, I will have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you." Kainé rolled her eyes, then kissed her grandmother on the forehead and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the walls of her heart.